Yesterday, I said the lineup was the problem, and clearly, Eugenio Suarez took that personally.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome in, everydayers. We appreciate you being here and thank you for helping make Locked On the #1 sports podcasting network in all the land. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. His name's Jeff Carr, and we appreciate you being here. A little bit later in today's show, we are going to celebrate Locked On. The Locked On Podcast Network turns 10 years old. 10 years of being your team every day. And here's to many, many more. We're going to recap some of our favorite memories over the last decade of bringing you Cincinnati Reds every single day. We're also going to just write a check, a blank check, not our money, of course. We want to spend the Castellini's money, but a blank check to Chase Burns. Give him all the money, period, exclamation point, end of sentence. Chase Burns, pay him. But where we are going to begin is the Reds hung a dozen runs on the New York Metropolitans, and I'm here for every single run of it. Apparently, Jeff made Gino mad because if you listened to yesterday's show, Jeff called out this lineup. He called out their weaknesses. He called out their inability to hit with runners in scoring position, and Gino said, "Hold my beer," along with probably a couple other things directed at Jeff. But Gino, 6 RBIs in last night's game. And not to be outdone, JJ Bleday was like, well, I want to play also. So he hung up another 4 RBIs in that game. These two dudes went off, Jeff. And this was a game, I don't know about you, but this was a game that I needed because I have been feeling like we are just getting kicked in the teeth day after day after day, covering this team and trying to find positives to talk about and trying to find silver linings in a cloud of doom and gloom and thunderstorms. And they actually gave us something last night that was fun to watch.
I was among those in attendance, and I can tell you that there was a collective exhale from everyone that was there after the second inning, because when Gino hit that grand slam, which was an absolute tank, just complete bomb that he hit there. That was 2 home runs in 2 innings.
I'm pretty sure he pointed at you, right? He pointed at you as he rounded first base.
He pointed at me. And then even after the third inning, whenever he did not hit a home run in the third inning, Mrs. Lockdown Reds was right next to me. And she was like, wow, he broke his streak. He had 2 innings, 2 home runs. He didn't hit a home run in the third, but no, it was a crazy game. And beyond even just the dominance of Gino in this game, there was so many good at-bats. I mean, Matt McLain had 2 walks in his first 2 at-bats, but the Reds did this thing that we begged them to do against mediocre to bad pitchers. It's they made Tobias Myers work. And Tobias Myers was a guy that when he was a Milwaukee Brewer, he was a pretty good relief pitcher. But the Mets are trying to turn him into a starting pitcher now. He was down in the minors. They were trying to stretch him out, get his pitch count up, turn him into a guy that they could plug in as their 5th starter. And the Reds said, not so fast, my friend, because he gets called up for this start. And the Reds were like, we're just going to make you throw, and throw some more. And this lineup absolutely teed off on him.
You know, it warms my heart every time you quote Lee Corso. I just want you to know that. I'll take that. You know, if we can get rid of the Star Wars references and just quote Lee Corso, we're all set. But listen, this lineup, not only did they light up Myers, but Pintaro comes in, he gets lit up. They go to Peterson, he gets lit up. This lineup was on fire. It didn't matter, I think, at this point, who the Mets put out there. This was one of those games where the stars aligned for the Cincinnati Reds. You look up and down the lineup, Jeff. There was, JJ Bleday. I talked about his 4 RBIs. He was 2 for 4 with a home run. You're talking about Gino homering in the first, homering in the second, a grand slam, a 2-run bomb. Gino was the Gino that we hired him to be in this particular game. That was the kind of thing he can do. And really, it's kind of the first time that Gino showed up this season. And I'm glad to see it. It happens to coincide with you running your mouth, which is also kind of, we're going to talk about the 10-year history.
Right?
We're gonna talk about the 10-year history of Locked On Reds here a little bit later in the show. That is our legacy. We talk some stuff. The players get pissed, and things happen. Some of the other guys in this game. Gino's 2 for 4, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. Matt McLain had some really, really good at-bats. You mentioned that he had not 1 but 2 walks in this game. Now, he didn't have a hit, but I'll take the getting on base. I'll take the fact that he is still seeing the ball really, really well. That's what we need to see from him. Edwin Arroyo in this game also had a hit. Keep the competition alive. I love what we are seeing out of the lineup yesterday. Now, there are still guys that haven't caught fire yet. There's room to improve. But anytime your ball club wins 12-0, I will take that.
Yeah. I mean, this was a complete performance overall. We're going to get to the pitching side of it in just a minute, but the lineup did what it needed to do. In fact, I think if you look at the statistics when it comes to runners in scoring position, I don't think they made an out, which was something that I talked about a whole lot yesterday, where I'm just like, I don't think they have a hit. And so to see the fact that they were able to turn this around, even just for one game, was so refreshing. I mean, specifically, I'm thinking of a hit that Sal Stewart had. Obviously wasn't part of the home runs, but Sal did this thing where with 2 strikes, he got a pitch that was low and outside, and it wasn't quite one-handed, but it was a little bit reminiscent of Todd Frazier, where he was just able to kind of extend his arms and get the bat out there just enough, and he poked the ball just high enough over the second baseman, and it was into right field for a single, and you had, I believe it was McLain. No, it wasn't McLain. No, it was Blake Dunn. Blake Dunn was on third base in this because they had done the double steal, and it was just phenomenal. Like this game overall was a fantastic experience, seeing how this lineup can go, because it feels like for such the longest time, pick a guy, he was going to fail you in a key spot. And hopefully they continue to do this. I got a couple of different texts out. Like I was texting with our friend Ryan Finkelstein over at Locked On Mets. I was just like, I don't think Tobias Myers is it, dude, for this 5th starter spot. And he's like, yeah, not seeming like it tonight. And then I even got a text from Locked On Gators host Brandon Olson, who's a big Mets fan. He's just like, dude, what did the Mets do to the Reds that they're so mad at them tonight? And I'm like, it wasn't the Mets' fault. It was everything.
It was you.
It was me. That's what
it was you. Listen, before we get out of this segment, though, there's one more guy that we need to give props to, and that is my man behind the dish, Tyler Stephenson, because he had 2 hits in this game last night. If you watched his at-bats recently have been the Tyler Stephenson we expected him to be. And I'm kind of excited about the direction he's going right now, Jeff. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to overhype it, but I do want to say, in the last 2 weeks of baseball-ish, 15 games for Ty Steve, 292, 358, 417 in the last 15 games. Give me that the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely crushing the ball last night. And he's doing that thing. And I think we can just copy and paste this from year to year and month to month and everything about it. He has never been a guy that has weak contact. He always has hard contact, and it feels like his stats should be better based on his peripherals. Maybe from here on out that actually works out, because it hasn't to this point in his career, but we feel like he's always been a guy that could take that next step, and the hard contact is the first step to, all right, we'll do a Star Wars quote there. He's taking his first step into a larger world when it comes to this hard contact, and hopefully he can turn that into production. Give you a thumbs down. It was a good reference there. But hey, the lineup was going, and it was supported by a pitching staff that absolutely shut down them, not because the Mets didn't get a hit, but when the Mets needed a hit to get a run, this pitching staff, led by Chase Burns, shut them down, and it's time for the Reds to just back that Brink truck up to Burns. I pay for everything at the ballpark with my phone. That's why Cash App is so crucial. And now they are making purchases even easier with the Cash App card. If you weren't up to speed already, Cash App is way more than just a safe way to send and receive money. With the Cash App card, you unlock a ton of perks without all the hidden fees. Enjoy benefits like exclusive early access to nationwide concert pre-sales like the Kendrick Lamar and Sabrina Carpenter, just to name a few. Plus discounts on everyday purchases and popular brands you're probably already spending money on. Add your card to your digital wallet and make your money move easier. Cash App also adds security to your money by declining suspicious card transactions and sending a notification to make sure the payment is really you. If your card is ever lost or stolen, you can lock it with just one tap right in the app. Spend with confidence with the Cash App card today. New Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use Cash App 10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. I manage the rest of our Major League Baseball shows here on Locked On, and one of the things that I've seen before is multiple show openings, and those things pile up quick. Indeed sponsored jobs makes everything so much easier because I set exact parameters, whether it be the job qualifications, the location of the person. So many different things are at my fingertips through Indeed sponsored jobs. They make the whole process so much easier. And when it comes to the ease of movement, there is no more ease of movement to get people to your organization than by using Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. Listeners of today's show can get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/PODCAST right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
All right, time out. That's twice now on the Cash App read in the last week that you've referenced Sabrina Carpenter, and you don't know who that is.
She's the one that she sings the
Stop it.
One
you don't
song.
know. Just you don't know. Get out of here. Tell the everydayers, get out of here.
Yeah, no clue. I don't know. When it comes to thank you just so much for joining us every single day here on Locked On Reds. And thank you for being a huge part of our 10-year tenure as a Locked On network. Locked On Reds isn't quite 10 years old. I think it's like 8 years old technically, but the podcast network itself that for the Reds podcast is 10 years old. And thank you for helping us become the #1 sports podcast network in the country. I invite you to become an everydayer. Join the Locked On Reds Everydayer Club. Go to lockedonreds.supercast.com to learn more about that, ad-free feed, group chat in the Discord, and so much more. All right, Steve, when it comes to the huge 12-0 big-time victory over the New York Mets for the Cincinnati Reds on Monday night, there's a key number in there, and that is 0. And that's all because of that pitching staff that began with Chase Burns. And I will say this wasn't the best start that Chase Burns has ever had, though he did have 7 strikeouts in 5 shutout innings. There was plenty of traffic on the base paths. He could have there were some points where I felt like, man, if he just got a ground ball here or a pop up there, he could have gone a little bit deeper into this ball game. But still, even bad Chase Burns is better than most.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in a little bit. You were down at the ballpark, so you didn't get the advantage of seeing some of the things that I saw on the broadcast watching this start. First and foremost, we've been giving Tito a little bit of grief for some of the Tito-isms that are this season, but I do appreciate that Chase Burns was allowed to battle in multiple moments of this start last night. I do appreciate that. What you may not have seen in the first at-bat against Juan Soto with Chase Burns is Soto walked away and not once but twice stopped and looked out at the mound at Chase Burns like, what in the hell was that? It was that good, that particular at-bat. Chase Burns is elite. Chase Burns is an all-star. Chase Burns is the ace of this staff, regardless of the status of one Hunter Green. Chase Burns is the number one guy in this town right now. Give him a check, sign on the dotted line, back up the Brinks truck, whatever you got to do. Chase Burns is the real deal, and he has been the real deal when this team needed somebody the most. I could not be more impressed. You know, we're heading into mid-June right now. His ERA after this start, Jeff, is 2.01. He went 5 innings in this start, and yes, he did labor at times. Do you know how many runs he gave up? 0. Do you know how many hits he allowed laboring? How many hits did he allow laboring? 4. 4 hits in 5 innings laboring. Now, he walked 3 dudes. We don't like that, but he struck out 7. No runs scored. He made dudes look silly, and he has the respect of the opposing hitters. We saw that in Juan Soto. What a tremendous battle of a start for Chase Burns.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it's easy to say that it wasn't that great of a start and leave it there. But the reason that it's so impressive is that the moment he needed to make his pitch, he made it. Whether it was to get a pop-up, whether it was to get a strikeout, whether it was to get that play to strand the runner, he was able to make that pitch. And we're talking about a dude that does it with 2 pitches. I know he's got a changeup. I know he throws it every so often. It's a show me pitch at this point. I think he'll probably continue to develop it, and he'll become a 3-pitch pitcher. But as it stands right now, he's a 2-pitch pitcher. And those 2 pitches are so elite. And even guys like Juan Soto knows that you can either eliminate one and look for the other. Doesn't matter. You can't do that with Chase Burns.
He makes him look silly. It's amazing.
Yeah. He's so
good.
And
Jeff, he threw 100 pitches in these 5 innings. I mean, this was not clean. I don't want to undersell the fact that he was really laboring through these 5 innings, but simply continued to buckle down and get it done. And if you were listening and not watching, you really missed out, because there were multiple times in this game where he battled through some stuff and got a big out. And just the amount of emotion and energy and fire that was coming from Chase Burns on the mound last night for a team that has struggled, for a team that has fallen on its face time and time and time and time again in the month of June and the month of May, Chase Burns was out there to win and was not going to accept any other outcome in this start last night.
Yeah, I think that Elliot De La Cruz has a lot of work to do, and it depends on just how much the management of time played for Chase Burns is going to be the rest of this season. But Elliot De La Cruz has a lot of ground to make up in the team MVP race, because it feels like Chase Burns is really far ahead right now.
No, I agree with that. I mean, you look around right now, and if there's one guy that you're excited to see their name pop up, it's Chase Burns. Ellie's hurt. Everybody else is hot and cold, but the one consistent this entire season has been Chase. And the fact that he is providing this lift in a time where Hunter Green has not thrown a pitch in the majors in 2026, in a season where Nick Lodolo maybe can occasionally throw the back foot breaker, we don't know, in a season where Brady Singer has forgot how to be a starting pitcher, in a season where the flowing locks of Rhett Lauder have been hit or miss and injured or not, Chase Burns has been the man. And, I don't know how we didn't hype him more coming into this, but he is phenomenal.
There might have been a little bit of like PTSD with the hype of Hunter Green and Ellie De La Cruz. And maybe we were just like, hey, maybe we'll dial it a little bit back on this guy. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I saw a guy with a Chase Burns jersey on at this game, and I'm like, dude, I kind of want one of those. Like, I've not really thought about getting a jersey in a while, and Chase Burns is making me think about getting a jersey. Before we get out of the segment, though, one other thought on the pitching in this game. The bullpen does its job, keeps the scoreboard clean. It wasn't as pretty as you would like it to be, but that was pretty. The one appearance of Chase of Chase Petty. This was the game of chases.
It was the game of the chases, buddy.
I like Chase Petty out of the bullpen. I like this.
It's funny. We didn't put this in the show notes, and you and I are in the same place. It's the game of chases. 2 1/3 innings. I mean, probably, the rules are weird, but give him the 3-inning save. I don't care that he was 2 out short of it because he came in and did a thing. He struck out a dude. He pitched 2 1/3, didn't give any walks, came in behind Ferguson, who continues to try and make things interesting right now. I don't know what that is. But even Caleb Ferguson got out. He pitched 2/3 of an inning, Jeff, walked 2, struck out 2, gave up a hit, and somehow, miraculously, did not allow a run to score. So the bullpenned a little bit. But Chase Petty, I'm not saying he should be a reliever the rest of his career forever. Yeah. But he can be a reliever right now. The way this bullpen is performed, they needed somebody that has a little bit of ability to give you multi-inning coverage. And Chase Petty continues to show he can be that guy.
Dude pitched out of a bases loaded jam, and he got us free pizza.
We'll take it. All right, Jeff, here's the deal. The Reds get a 12-0 win. We're feeling good. We're feeling warm and fuzzy. We needed it. The listeners needed it. The entire fan base needed it. We're feeling celebratory. Locked On's been around for 10 years, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. This is a decade of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are going to celebrate some of our favorite moments from the last 10 years, and we're doing that coming up next.
The NHL finals are over and the Carolina Hurricanes have won the cup, but all along their process through the playoffs, every shift mattered and every moment was intense, but the Hurricanes came through. Everything came down to the execution when the pressure was at its highest for them. And just like athletes must be ready to perform when the puck drops, a lot of guys want that same sense of readiness and confidence in their own lives too. That's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet offers modern performance-focused treatments designed to help you be ready when it matters most. Their top option, Rugiet Ready, is a fast-acting, clinically formulated treatment that comes in a simple mint that dissolves under your tongue. It's designed for convenience with fast absorption and effects that can begin in about 15 minutes and may last up to 36 hours. They also offer Go Long, which is formulated to support both performance and control for longer lasting needs. It's all about helping guys feel prepared, confident, and in control. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rugiet, performance medicine for men.
If you can't watch us here on YouTube, and by the way, we didn't start here. This has been a development in the last 10 years. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, we still have our audio feeds, every single podcasting app that's out there. If you find one we're not on and you need us to be there, message Jeff. He can probably make that happen for you. Make sure you click subscribe. Make sure you click that notification bell so you never miss any of the great Reds content we've got coming your way. That also gets you the postcast with Tim Daniel live after each and every Reds game. Look, this network started by a guy with a hope and a prayer and a dream. David Locke began covering the Utah Jazz. He's the play-by-play guy out there. If you don't know who David Locke is our CEO currently. He is the host of Locked On Jazz. He is the Locked On in Locked On. He is the guy that started all of this. He started this covering the Jazz, and we are now doing hundreds of millions of downloads and listens every single year, thanks to you, the everydayers. Every single professional sport, most Division I colleges have a Locked On show covering your team each and every day. We're now celebrating 10 years, a full decade of Locked On, providing you what it is that you want. Your team every day, unbiased, the news and information you're looking for. We appreciate you being here. So what we want to do right now is celebrate a little bit of this network in the last 10 years of Locked On Reds. I wasn't here for the full 10 years. Jeff wasn't here for the full 10 years. We reached out and talked to our guy, James Rapine. Many of you may remember he was the original host of Locked On Reds. He's a little tied up with a little show. You may have heard of it. It's called First Word, Cincinnati's only daily live sports talk show on your local cable channel. James is doing big, big things. Wanted to be here. We couldn't make the timing work, but we appreciate his willingness for wanting to be here, and we appreciate that he got this whole ball game started with Locked On way back in the day. Jeff, there's been a lot of moments we've got to cover over this 10-year time period. I know you came along, not that far into the tenure of Locked On Reds, maybe 2 years into the network. There's been a lot of moments. There's been a lot of things. First, just in the audios, you were doing the regular audio podcast over there. You transitioned to YouTube. You brought me in from Reds Alert to be your co-host over here. And we've seen a lot of things, man. We've been through a lot. We've been to battle with this Cincinnati Reds team. Let's talk about some of the highlights over our 10 years here at Locked On.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to look back and see how things have really changed. Like when I first started, I talked with David, and basically he was like, "Do you got a mic? You got a computer? All right, go for it." And that's how we did it. And like nowadays, like as a guy that manages the MLB side of things, and we do this with all of our different new hosts for new shows and stuff, where there's a whole process. We meet a couple of different folks. We walk you through a couple of different things. We kind of, make sure that everything is good to go for your first couple of episodes. It's so different now. Because back then, man, like I turned it on and I went, and going back and listening to that first episode, you can go back and say it's the New Year's Eve going into 2019. So like December 31st, 2018, things sound so much different compared to now. And that was when I was in an apartment up at West Carrollton, and I was sitting at my dinner table, and I would like open up my laptop. I'd set my microphone on the table, and I'd record. And then after I was done and I got everything posted, I would tear all that down, and then it's back to being a dinner table again. And this was when my wife was actually studying in physician assistant school. So, I'd take my stuff off the table. She'd set her stuff down and get to studying for the next test. It's funny to see how everything's changed now, because now I have a nice office and all this other stuff, house. And it's crazy what this opportunity has changed into and allowed me to do so many different things with life. And it's been a lot of fun getting to grow from that point to now, and just seeing all the different stuff that's happened since then.
I look around and, the friendships that we formed. First, you and I you and I became friends before I came on here. I was doing Reds Alert. You were doing Locked On. We were spending hours a day talking baseball, and it just became a natural fit for you and I to do this together. But the friends we've made, the fact that, the major Cincinnati market, we count Mo Egger as a friend. We count Lance McAllister as a friend. John Sadak is our friend. Chris Welch is our friend. If you had told me when we started this, those things would be true, I would have told you were nuts. I've gotten to go into the broadcasting booth in visiting cities. I've been in the broadcasting booth in GABP. I could not have for a second envisioned that any of that was possible. And it's a testament to the relationships we formed in the city, the embrace that we got from those guys who have never hesitated to give us advice and to give us a minute and appear on this show and provide their time to share their love of Cincinnati Reds baseball with the everydayers. And, I can't state enough how happy I am to be here. Jeff, you don't lean into enough the fact that you're a full-time employee of the Locked On Network. And, I remember back in the days where you were working out of a bank cubicle and we were doing this on the side. So you have come a long way. You are an example of what can happen if a person puts their nose down to the grindstone and just works. And you have accomplished so much with this network. And I could not be more proud of you. I could not be more proud of what we do with this show. Everybody knows I have the full-time gig in the medical field, and I get to do this as a hobby / love / thing that we do. And, I'm so grateful for that. And we've got to see some exciting stuff. So before we get out of this segment, let's talk about a couple big moments, things that stick in my mind getting to do this show. And probably I have been the most excited that I've ever been when we have gone live is when we did the live show after Ellie hit for the cycle in Milwaukee. We had, John Sadak ringing in our ears of "It's a cycle." And we went live for a long period of time. There were hundreds of people in the live chat, and it was a party. And that is probably my favorite memory of all of the Locked On shows we've done over the last several years.
There's not a lot of times that we both kind of be like, you know what? It's okay if we have like a nice drink with us on the show. And that was one of those times that both of us did. And funny story about that. sometimes when you get to do things like this, you get invited to a family, like a distant family member's career day because they work at a school. And
What
there's
grade was that,
times,
Jeff? What grade?
second grade. And there's times that you might think, hey, as you're talking about what you do, you might want to show a clip of something cool. And you think, well, this is like one of our favorite episodes we ever did, so let's show a clip of that. And you're showing a clip of a show to second graders, and all of a sudden, while your co-host is talking, you take a sip of that beverage. And they're like, was that Dr. Pepper? You're like, yeah, Dr. Pepper.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper.
That's 100% what that was.
Definitely Dr. Pepper. No, it's fun getting to do stuff like that. It's wild to say this, but I've been to Bronson Arroyo's house because Bronson Arroyo invited me over. I was going to have him on the show, and he's just like, come on over. Let's do it at the house. And I was like, really? Okay. Let's do that. But Bronson's like one of the nicest dudes in the world, so that was really cool. He showed me around and got to see the house. We talked ball, and that was a lot of fun. Like a lot of different memories, and just the different games. And I feel like there is a different level of reaction to what the Reds do, and I've always been a little bit, touched might be the word when it comes to Reds baseball, but definitely bought in to the Reds throughout my entire life. Definitely touched throughout my entire life. But this like adds a different level to it. And one of the specific things that I remember even before that you joined me was Wade Miley's no-hitter, because that was 2020. That was the year that, he'd spent so long without sports because of COVID and everything that was going on. And for him to throw that no-hitter, it for a moment, it was a bit of euphoria. And it was all brought to us by sports. And that's why we created Locked On, because we know that there are people out there like us that feel that sort of way about their team. And whether it is the Reds or the Bengals or the Buckeyes or the Bearcats or whatever it might be, you feel that way about your team. And every single day, you have a place that you can go to just focus on your team for 30 minutes, or in today's case, a little bit longer than 30 minutes. And you can focus in on your team and kind of block everything else out in the world. And that's why we created Locked On, so that you can be with us every single day to talk Reds and your favorite teams. If you're wrong, if it's not the Reds,
if you're wrong. I love that. Jeff, we would also be remiss, I think, if we didn't talk about our favorite aspect of this show and what has resulted from it. And that is just the tremendous interactions that we have with the everydayers. You and I wandering around Cincinnati have so much fun. Everydayers, I want you all to know that when we say, if you see us, come talk to us, we love that. We truly love that. I have had so many amazing conversations, meeting people throughout Reds country, and sometimes in the randomest of places. I've ran into an everydayer at a game in Tampa that was not a Reds game, just randomly ran into an everydayer there. And you had the same experience at a bar in Chicago. We love the everydayers. We love talking ball with you guys. This last Reds Fest was tremendous from a standpoint of being able to engage with you all in a way that really, I think, caught Jeff and I both by surprise. We talked about this after Reds Fest, just the volume of people that came up and talked about the show and talked about the things we had been talking about and wanted to just hang out for a few minutes and talk Reds baseball. That's really the reason why we do this. The other stuff is great. The interactions we've had with the broadcast crews and the beat writers and the friends we made, all that's been great. But the real reason we do this is for you and for that interaction and for, that back and forth. And this show would not be near as fun or have gone near as long if you guys weren't engaged every day in the comment sections and on the social medias and being a tremendous, huge part of what it is we do here every day. So, from the bottom of my heart, and I know I speak for Jeff when I say this, thank you all so much for these last 10 years at Locked On. We're not going anywhere, folks. We have only just begun. Here's to decades more of talking Reds baseball with you folks each and every day. We look forward to this. We can't wait to fire up the recording devices and post the next episode and hear what it is that you have to say in the comment sections. We look forward to that. Thank you all so much for everything that you've added to our lives and to this show. Let's do it some more.
Absolutely. That's going to be a great spot for us to end today's episode. Thank you so much for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. Like Steve mentioned, every single day, we're going to be right here with you. Make sure you hit subscribe on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, wherever you might listen to us, because we will be bringing Cincinnati Reds talk to you each and every day. And Tim Daniel as well on the Locked On Reds postcast at the end of every ball game. We are right here all about the Reds every single day. And
touched.
And for
I need you to
sake,
wear a shirt that says touched on it. That's
can we, in the next 10 years of Locked On Reds, can we get a championship? Is that too much to ask?
It might be, buddy. I don't know. Let's call Phil.